Welcome to Myth and Literature. Poetry, by its very nature, is rife for interpretation. When you learned the methods of evaluation employed for understanding and evaluation of myth, you were readying yourself to open your eyes to the stories, poems, and experiences that you may have seen on a very surface level until now. Just as you can interpret a myth using Jungian archetypes or Straussian constituent units or Rankian morphological units, so too can you evaluate poems using these methodologies. Since poetry is a rather limiting schema to begin with, we can see how these artists were able to use references to other works to express themselves within their limited constructs. Poetry seems easier, but is usually more difficult and layered. There are a number of structures available to the poetic hopeful, but working within them and fully expressing an idea can be very difficult. As such, this week we will focus on analyzing a poem. You may choose from among those poems that we've read this week. As a reminder, looking at literature as myth is to be cautioned. That said, understanding mythological references can improve enjoyment of the text. Furthermore, many of the methodologies we've employed theoretically will help you more fully enjoy the included excerpts as well. As an example of what you can do in response to this question, begin by a brief summary. In his Lament to Lycidas, Milton includes the pastoral environment in his bereavement of his friend. He ultimately suggests that his friend is in a better place. Next, consider the above summary. What elements do you feel were pertinent to your understanding of this pastoral? When Milton references the flowers with sadness and desolation rather than joy, it prepares me for the birth of the idea that Lycidas is in a better place. I think that's where a turn in the poem is for me. It's reminiscent of the cyclical nature of life and death and firmly establishes his understanding of where Lycidas will be, happily in the hereafter. Now, this response is sufficient, but could include a quote from the text to inform us exactly when he says happily in the hereafter. One could also assert that he focuses on what he will be doing going forward. Consider, how would we forward that idea? It will be helpful to note that each poem is introduced and summarized. When you are evaluating your poem, you will explain how your evaluation diverges from or builds upon some of the ideas outlined in the text using the methodology we just discussed.